I got a little bit of a shout out at the end for specifically about the VGS lines being a little bit inconsistent and just in general getting increasingly harder to understand. Now, a lot of people seem to be a little bit confused by what I meant by this, and by extension when Cyberbull brought it up, because they didn't really give much context for that. Yeah, okay, so, here's what I mean. The example I gave to Cyberbull, which he didn't show on this video, naughty, was the Freedom Inara voice lines. I don't know the name of it, I am not checking. They are all themed around America. They're all insults to the British, freedom everywhere, stuff like that. Your typical overly zealous patriotism sort of thing.
I am proud to be a paladin, where at least I know I'm free, and I shall never forget the fallen man who gave his life for me. Let me show you my big stick diplomacy. This land is my land. Strike now, freedom fighters! You dare oppose my freedom? Nice stimulus check. The flames of freedom never dim. This land is now free! I need an ambulance! Attack, freedom fighters!
Fair enough, I haven't got a problem. In particular to that skin, the voice lines are very inconsistent, meaning that certain voice lines, like Loyalists on the left flank for example, don't really sound like enemies on the left flank. It just sounds like, if anything, your teammates are in whatever positions, the left flank for whatever. The worst part about that skin voice pack in particular is that they're not even consistent within their category, which is even more annoying, as you might imagine.
Loyalists on the left flank! King's men up the middle! Royalists on the right flank! They've returned to the land of the crown! The British are coming from behind! King's men on the point! King's men incoming! Enemy spotted!
Wow. Just wow. What makes these voice lines so problematic is that the information and context of the voice line is being placed at the end, which, while I have no studies to prove this, is not exactly great for identification of what a player or ally is saying when in the middle of a match. I would argue very reasonably placing the information, or as much of it as you can, at the front is much more efficient. People will understand it a little bit faster, even if it is by a couple of milliseconds. When the game is basically non-stop team fighting for several minutes, these things matter. For a random example, let's use Vivian, because that's on my search bar, and let's look at her enemies on the left flank line.
Enemies on the left flank!
This is concise, clear, and just in general tells you exactly what you need to know. It's admittedly quite long, but it's kind of the nature of the voice line, you can't really do much about that. Now let's listen to Lady Liberty and Nara's voice line for the exact same situation.
Loyalists on the left flank!
Loyalists could mean literally anything, and requires a decent amount of game knowledge, i.e. being a part of the community already, to understand what this voice line is trying to say. And as I said at the start, Loyalists could literally mean your allies, not the enemy, so it's not exactly a great line. I have actually found an inversion to all of this. The Pyre-themed skin for Khan, the enemies behind us voice line is just turn around. Turn around! Ironically, it has the opposite problem. It's just too short. It sounds more like an actual auto call-out more than anything, which is still quite useful, but it's lacking information as to why you need to turn around. It could be for any reason. You need context. Denying allies context robs the VGS system of a lot of its usefulness. Adding either too much character personality or adding too little information means that everybody loses. The VGS system just becomes pointless. This is not a new problem. It's actually been around for quite a long time, actually since the game has been released, but at the very least the justification for the older skins I can see is that they were designed in a time when the VGS was still new to Paladins and they hadn't fully worked out what they were going to do with the voice packs. I have a problem with it now because the game is like 5 years old at this point, and even Mojo and Hi-Res for that matter, they need to update their voice lines. Tactical ones in particular have to be consistent around everything. There can be some leeway, but there has to be consistency. Otherwise, the system just does not do what it serves, does not fulfill its purpose. That is very important, and I know it makes me sound like as if I want to make every single character boring. That's not what I'm getting at. But gameplay-centric lines like these, it's very important that they remain largely unchanged. Otherwise, it causes problems. Just thought this required some clarification. Go about your day. Have fun.